Welcome to The Real and the Woo. I'm your host, Laurie Stern. Join me as I invite experts and friends to discuss a range of topics, from the factual and practical to the mystical and magical. Consider this your virtual happy hour filled with lively, authentic, and meaningful conversations meant to inform, inspire, and ignite your curiosity. Whether you are very real or super woo, this podcast is just for you. Welcome to The Real and the Woo. I'm your host, Laurie Stern, and I have the esteemed pleasure of sitting down today with the very busy and very amazing Jackie Pilossoph, whom I stalked and knocked on her door tenaciously until she took a meeting with me and convinced her that I was one of the right people to work with her on her platform, Divorced Girl Smiling. So hello, Jackie.
Oh, hi, Laurie. And I don't like that story because I hope you know that when I met you at that party.
Yeah.
So I want to tell everyone I met Laurie at like a networking event.
Yeah.
I loved you. So it wasn't personal. I loved you.
Yeah, I didn't take it personally at all. I'll tell the story and then I want you to tell everybody what you do. But yes, Jackie and I met at a networking event and she spoke and I was total fangirl from the minute you opened up your mouth. First of all, I have TEDx and speaking envy and motivation, right? So you totally inspired me to get my act together to produce something like that. More than that, I loved your humor and I loved your message. And while you were speaking, I thought, I wonder if she could use someone like me on her team. And I just love your model and your brand. And then there's a really fun story that we're going to circle back to that we met even way before then. But before we get into that, why don't you tell my listeners who you are, what you do, because I can certainly regurgitate your bio, but I find sometimes it's just better to hear from people directly.
Okay, well, I have TED Talk envy also. I'm not there yet, but I put the presentation that you heard together just as a way to try to help and inspire women. That's always been what I've done, whether I'm speaking, writing, broadcasting, whatever I'm doing. And my story is that I want everyone to know I went through a divorce in 2008. I had two young kids, 3 and 5. I wasn't working at the time and there was no support. I felt really isolated and alone. And in my true broadcasting, I'm a former TV journalist and Chicago Tribune reporter and columnist. In that true fashion, I just started writing down my feelings and started a blog. And it caught on so quickly. It was scary. Women would just be like, thank you so much for putting that out there. I'm in the same position. Well, guess what? Like 7 million views later, people need to feel connected and supported, not just during divorce, but at any times. But so I started Divorced Girl Smiling, a brand for people who were getting divorced to be able to read articles, listen to podcasts, and connect with my trusted professionals, which Laurie is one of them. People I think can help them during and after the divorce. So that could be divorce lawyers, mediators, financial advisors, all kinds of people, divorce coaches. And then, so when Laurie approached me, I never thought about having an energetic wellness person on the site. And I'm so glad I do.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, so you kind of glossed over some things I wanted to talk to you about and elevate. So yes, you've written not just one book, but several books. And you have turned your Divorced Girl Smiling into a brand. And I wanted to ask you, so you can tell people, how did you come up with Divorced Girl Smiling? Was it initially right away the best idea you had, or did it take a while for you to find that smile through your divorce?
Okay, I'm going to be completely honest.
I would only expect you to be completely honest.
Okay, I had a blog called JackiePilosoff.com. Well, who cares about Jackie Pilossoph? Nobody. So then there was this blog. I don't even know if it's still out there, but it was called Single Dad Laughing. And I was like so intrigued. And I thought, wow, what a great idea. So I really stole that from him. And I just felt like I didn't want divorce to be like doom and gloom. You're never going to be happy again. You're going to have all these problems. Okay, I had a lot of problems. Everyone does. But I wanted people to see light in their future and realize that I'm going to be happy again. This is just a bad time I have to go through. Not only am I going to be happy again when it's over, but I'm going to find moments of happiness during the divorce. And I am going to find gratitude for what I have and build from that. So I wanted it to be really upbeat and happy to give people hope.
So, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you that day, and I believe I asked you that night when we met, was you've leveraged your story, you've written the book all about your divorce. Every time you retell your story, I think what I said to you was, you know, you're more than your story, right? Like, yes, this is your brand, but you're more than Jackie Pilossoph divorcee. And so, my question to you is every time you discuss or mention your divorce, is there some part of you, surprisingly or not, that kind of goes back there more than you thought? And energetically, does it make you feel a little still stuck there, or you've sort of been able to separate that's this part of me, and I'm so glad that happened because we talked about the worst things in your life that happen can become your biggest gifts and lessons. While you're going through them, it's hard to see. But that's one of the reasons why I wanted to work with you because I want to help women, especially too, empower them that they're not just this story. They're not what life is giving them. So, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that you nailed it because I've been divorced 18 years. If I'm not over it and I'm giving advice to the whole world on divorce, that's really sad.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if you ever really get over divorce. That's the first thing. You know, it's so, like, sad in a way. You just mourn like you're supposed to get married and it's supposed to be forever. Now, do I live my life that way? Absolutely not. And I am over the divorce. I think it took longer because of the business, but listen, this is a business, and I have learned how to separate my own emotions from the business. I really have. But sometimes I'll be talking to someone in an interview, like a professional, and they'll bring up a story, or I'll be talking to someone going through a divorce because I offer these free consults, and anybody can call me and I'll spend a half hour listening to your story and connect you with other professionals I think can help you. So during these interviews and these talks with people, sometimes it'll hit a nerve and I'll be like, wow. And I realize, like, I wasn't really over that aspect of my divorce, And so I don't know if you ever really get over it, but
Yeah.
there's a big difference between that and somebody who's angry and bitter and really is stuck.
Yes. So, right. So I didn't mean to suggest like, are you over it? It was
No,
more
I
just
didn't
what you
think that
mentioned,
you
like,
thought I wasn't.
do you sometimes get that cringe? Do you sometimes feel the story in your body, which is normal human behavior? And then the energetic wellness side of me, the coach side of me is, okay, I would say to you, if that keeps happening, let's work on that. And where is that in your body that keeps happening? So putting that aside, you've written more, like, is it Who Let the Dogs Out?
Mhm,
Right. And that's
mhm.
about dating. So would you like to talk about that? Because I love
Sure.
the speech that you gave, was all with your dog. And of course, I'm a dog lover. You see my dog when we're having our meetings. And so, yeah, can you tell us about that book?
Sure. But I wanted to say one other thing about the divorce. I think sometimes I almost feel like I'm bored of it. I'm bored. I'm sick of myself talking
Yeah.
about my divorce. I've talked about it so much that I'm like, okay, my life is so much more that, I don't want to talk about that anymore. I want to talk about the fact that I just played pickleball for the first time or, whatever it is that's going on in my life or my kids are adults now. I'm in love again. I've been with the same person for 11 years. So sometimes it's just a little boring and that's why I think that that's actually healthy and I hope that people at some point say, I don't need Divorce Girl Smiling anymore. I'm fine. I have moved on.
Yeah. It's
You
sort
know,
of like an actor that gets pigeonholed in a specific kind of role,
yeah.
and they just want a different role. Nothing against the trade and the accolades and the profession that they've built because of that character that they're so good at. So that's kind of what I was hearing too is this is who you are. And at some point you might say, well, I'm not going to talk about that so much anymore. Although it's who I am and it's how I'm here, but I'm also going to talk about this next phase.
Yeah.
Is Divorce Girl Smiling? Are you manifesting a network? Did I just make that
Well,
up?
so the reason I can't really morph and say, "Okay, I'm kinda done talking about it," is because the brand is designed to help people who are in that panic mode, who are thinking about divorce, newly separated, in the thick of it, and I don't want to abandon those people. So I can't really move on. Sure, I'd love to move on and talk about women in their season. Well, I'm actually 60. Like, women when we get older, and I love like functional medicine, health, and I'm into all these other different things, but I don't want to abandon those people.
Yeah, I meant also with the Divorce Girl Smiling brand, do you see, or maybe you've already considered it, because you come from broadcasting. So I'm seeing online live programming, like TV shows about divorce or moving past divorce, or I'm a woman who's 50 and in menopause and going through divorce, or I'm a woman who's never played pickleball and I want to learn how to play pickleball, and you've got a pickleball video on there. I don't know,
Yeah, but
stuff like
in the
that.
12 years I've had Divorce Girl Smiling, I can see through Google Analytics what people are searching,
Mm,
how they get to my site, which articles they're reading, and overwhelmingly, it's the in the thick of divorce. My husband already has a girlfriend.
mm,
I feel like I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. I'm really scared. I have all this fear. I mean, I could go on and on. I know
yeah.
exactly what they're coming to the site for. So if I were to move on and say like, okay, I don't really want to talk about this anymore, I would be doing a huge disservice. But there are
100%.
so many people who joined the community years ago. Now they've moved on too, and they're
Mhm.
still around looking at articles, kind of wondering, because there's a lot about dating after divorce. Then you break up with that guy after 3 years and you're devastated again.
Mhm.
So, there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, there is. I mean, just in the dating space alone, the vulnerability, the fear of getting back out there, the heartbreak of divorce and how it's hard to find trust again, all of those things. So I love that you are continuously evolving your content to capture, like you said, the people who are with you from the get-go, but just like you, they're also evolving. So I like that you just echoed that, so thank you. So the Who Let the Dogs Out, would you like to share anything about that and any other book that you've written? Because 'Cause you've done quite a lot.
Sure. So when I was first divorced in 2008, my life revolved around writing because it was the only thing that made me feel better. And so I wrote a few novels those first few years. I wrote like 3 novels. And it was just a way for me to express my creativity, but also to heal myself. And it just, I don't know, it was very cathartic. And then I started the site and then I dated for like 10 years and fell in love with my now partner who I've been with for 11 years. And then I decided to write about all the relationships I had between my divorce and now. And I wrote the book like 6 years ago and I just let it sit in a drawer for a long time. And then last year, I decided it felt like the right time to publish it. And, everything had changed so much. There really wasn't texting It was different back then, but it's the same. The basic principles of dating and relationships never really change. So I think it's something that everybody can relate to, and it takes the fear out of dating. That's the goal, because people can say, "Oh, well, she dated all these dogs and then finally found this wonderful man, and that could happen for me too." And so each chapter is dedicated to one relationship and then what I learned from it. And then at the end of each chapter, I give different tips on that subject. So it's kind of like a self-help, but it reads like a novel also.
I love it. Okay. So when we were chatting a few weeks ago, it came up that it turns out, you guys, when I started teaching yoga at this one of the studios here, someone came to interview not just me, but I think other people. And Jackie connected the dots that it was you. And it was in the Pioneer Press, and you came up with the article. And I was like, this is one of those Beshert moments. Like, if you're Jewish, it's like it's meant to be, right? You can't make this stuff up. Like, what were the chances all those years ago you interviewed me then, and then I met you at the networking thing, and like here we are. So I just love that's how the universe works in my space.
And how was I back then? I mean, was
Yeah,
I
you
like a
asked me that. You were nice. Like, I don't here's what I know about myself, and I think this is human nature. Unfortunately, and I would just like to put a call to action to change this right here and right now. I think it's way easier for people to remember all the negative shit that happened versus the positive. So my first answer to you was, well, you must have been nice because I don't remember anything bad.
Same.
But,
That's
you know,
exactly what I was thinking.
but
Mhm,
like we need to change that paradigm. We need to say, like,
mhm.
let's retrain our brains to like really just remember the best parts. Why is it so easy for us? This is rhetorical to really still because probably the negative creates more of a reaction than the positive, but love is the highest vibration. So one would think, and maybe we're supposed to be designed a little better moving forward, that we let those synapses last a little longer and stick more than the negative stuff. Because you could name right now the 5 things that pissed you off yesterday, probably way easier than the 5 things that made you happy. I
Mhm.
don't know.
Well, one, it's sort of a Laurie kind of ritual that I do every morning. Is I started doing this a few years ago, and I do it every morning. When I first wake up, I don't let myself look at my phone. I'd love to grab my phone and see what happened in the 5 hours I haven't had it, or 6 hours, or whatever, 7. But I express my gratitude to God, and I pray for all the people around me. I make a list of who I'm grateful for. I ask God for what I want. I thank God for what I have. And I literally spend like 10 minutes, because if you start your day off like that, then it can't really be that bad no matter what happens. Like,
Mhm.
it's just a good way to start your day off, I think.
Do you know, I do something very, very similar in the morning when I wake up and before I go to bed at night. So I do a whole ritual going through the same thing, like just being grateful and praying to God. And I put my family in there, my kids and everything. And I send it outwardly, like iterations of may all beings be safe, may all beings be free, may all beings be happy, may all beings be healthy. There's probably more that I miss, but those are the ones I remember. So that's what I say. So that's so nice. Think I might have just had a guest on recently or read something where if you look at your phone first thing in the morning, you are putting like 80,000 people in your head the minute you wake up. And so it really is important to have that boundary. But it's hard as business owners because you might have missed an email in the if you get 7 hours, babe, that's great. When you first said 5 hours, like, wow, sometimes that's all I get. But it is that knee jerk reaction to sort of like be available all the time, especially when you're growing a business or you're a parent or a spouse. We want to be open 24/7, and it's hard to hang that closed sign on the door, but we
For
really
sure.
need to.
One thing
Yeah.
that I would love to work on, maybe you could help me with this. I think I'm going to start not looking at my phone after like 8 o'clock at night,
Mhm,
because you're not going to run downstairs to the computer anyway and answer the emails. So why know about it? If
mhm.
it's not a great email, it's just going to stress you out. And if it is a good email, you want to you want to immediately answer and tell the person like, "Oh my gosh, thank you," or whatever. So neither one is a good scenario to look at that time. And if
Yeah.
you just wait until you get to your computer, we all make the mistake that people expect us to answer right away, and they really don't.
For me, it's more the text. If I receive a text and I don't answer the text, I feel so badly. And you're right. I've been telling clients and I've been practicing myself when I can to turn everything off at an hour before I go to bed. But I also now include a ritual. Sometimes I'll listen to like a YouTube tarot thing that's uplifting or some sort of music. Been watching the Hallmark channel because it's Christmas every day or Hanukkah sometimes now too. And I say this all the time. My mom on the other side was a big fan of the channel. And I thought first, like, that's so silly. And it's so nice because everybody's happy and they all get a kiss at the end. And, we got to bring romance back into our lives wherever we can get it.
I love that. I
Yeah.
also sometimes just watch Seinfeld.
Yeah,
I mean, because that is like, there's nothing that's going to happen that's going to stress you out before you fall asleep. It's just
exactly.
hilarious.
It's hilarious. Yeah, I do the same. Seinfeld is great too. Okay. So, broadcast journalist. Were you on TV news or in print mostly?
No, I was on an NBC affiliate.
It's like on TV. How did you like that?
Well, it's so funny. I was just telling my son that we were in the grocery store and I was in a small town in Minnesota. And I was listening to a radio show one morning on my way to the station, and they had this like thing where this guy was telling the station what Jackie Pilossoph had in her cart in the grocery store, and I was horrified. I was like, it was just so intrusive, and so I didn't like that part of it because I was really self-conscious. I don't know. I should have had more self-confidence because I was so much prettier than I thought I was. And now that I'm older, I'm like, wait, I would have had
Beautiful.
more confidence. But I liked talking to people and interviewing people, but I didn't like the camera so much, which is ironic because now all I do is get on camera.
Yeah,
And now I
yeah,
don't care anymore. Now I'm like,
exactly.
okay, it is what it is. Nobody expects me to be a supermodel. They care about the content, what's coming out of my mouth.
Exactly. It's so from a dharma standpoint, from a always meant to be doing this standpoint, did you know as a young child or young woman that this was what you always wanted to do? And this being communication, getting the message out in writing and print, however that manifested. Was that always in your blood? No.
Not even close. This is how I decided. This is going to sound crazy, but I graduated from Indiana in 1987.
Go
And
IU, by the way.
no, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Okay, so after college, I had all these sales jobs and I was making good money and I was happy and I was having a good time, but I would always watch the Today Show every morning before work. And I would be like, I would love to be Katie Couric. And this went on for like 3 or 4 years. And then I started thinking, well, why can't I be? So I applied to graduate school and went back and moved to Boston when I was 30 and got my master's degree in journalism and really started my life over.
Mm,
Kind of. She was my role model. You know what I loved about her? She was like cute and fun, and she was like your girlfriend, but she was also really smart and she knew the news, what was going on, and she was very objective.
mm,
And now she really isn't objective.
mm,
But back then, she really was. She was a very good journalist, but she was also like the girl next door. She was your
mhm.
friend, and that's what I wanted to be. So she
Yeah.
was really a big inspiration for me.
I would say you've become everybody's best friend in the divorced sphere, like because 'cause
Thank
you're
you.
that ear, like, you're the first stop, and you so generously connect the dots between the people who come in for the free chat, and then you're like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna place you here or here or here." You're like a big mother hen. I love that.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, I wanna go back. I
it's
I
not.
wanna say it's not just Katie Couric. It's all the journalists now who bug me on both sides. They're too one-sided.
Oh,
She's too much to the left, these other right people are too much to the right, and the media is really hurting our country very badly. So
Mm,
I don't wanna pick on Katie Couric, that was my point.
uh, that's fair. And you're stepping into the woo space when you say what you just said, because we are seeing a split between 3D and 5D. And I don't know if you've been hearing about this or not, but we're in the third dimension and there's other dimensions. And what's happening now is there is a very big, obvious split. So you can say it's binary, it's black, it's white, it's yes, it's no, it's right, it's left. There's very few right now, although they're growing, middle row, right? What happened to collaboration? What happened to civility,
Respecting
respect?
each other's opinions, letting freedom of speech and not
Exactly.
judging. Mhm.
So what's happening too is for everything that we're saying, and we say just the word respect. And I had a little mini TikTok about this. Like when you see a zebra, what do you see when you see a zebra? Can you describe it to me?
Black and white
So
stripe.
I could say it's white with black, but we're both saying it's a zebra.
Mhm.
And what's happening is everybody who describes a zebra like you just did, they're saying they're right and there's no other way. And everybody who's describing the zebra like I just did are saying that's right, there's no other way. Those people are crazy, they're wrong. Yet we forget we're just talking about a zebra.
Media
Universal.
is feeding on that. The media
Exactly.
is, like, exacerbating it, and
Exactly.
they know they have control, and so now people are not speaking to their sister or their
Mhm.
parents because of their political views,
And
and it
there's divorce happening.
I
Yeah.
can't imagine a couple being on opposite sides, it would be very difficult, and
Yes.
it's really, really a shame because it used to be where you could just debate and respect
And
each
it was
other, and
fun, like a
yeah,
healthy debate, a
and what has really
respectful
changed?
discord.
And
Well,
and
what's
what has really changed? Don't we all want the same things? We're all Americans. We all want the same things. Safety, to be able to provide for our families, for peace. Like we all want the same thing. So I'm
yeah.
really mad at the media.
Well, it's the media and everything else, and what's happening is, like you just said, not from a conspiracy standpoint, but there are energies at play that are both in our control and out of our control. Like we're just on somebody else's chessboard if you look at the universe, let's say, and we're down here playing these games called being human. And what happens is we're brought into families, we're brought into communities, da 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 da. Da. Oneness and unity doesn't make people a lot of money. Think about how people make money. They feed on the fears and prey on the emotions of others. And so, if people can win the game by saying, I'm going to save you if you believe me. I'm going to save you if believe me. Then we're just like a bunch of lemmings going back and forth. I keep seeing, remember Bugs Bunny, the old Bugs Bunny cartoons, and there's a sale and there's Bugs. He's just about to open up the door and then that big crowd rushes in and flattens him. That's what I feel like is going on. Like
Uh-huh.
there's those of us who are just having a hand on the door, like, hey, everybody, let's walk in here together. And there's people just like rushing in and they just don't have any brains of their own. So the gift of discernment, the art of discernment has gone by the wayside. But those of us talking more and more about it are bringing it back up into the open. So the more we can stay in our light and our truth and elevate that, we bring people up with us.
Right. And just listen to other people. People stop listening. They just stop. They're like, you're a racist or you're this or you're that. They stop listening and respecting. It's so sad to
Yeah.
me.
So yes, and so then the work that we both do is to help people navigate wherever they are. So if they're in anger, if they're in fear, if they're a whole host of things, just helping people get back in touch with themselves and what makes them human is the whole point. You started off by saying your whole mission has been to help women be seen and valued and understood. And that's what I do. And that's what anybody on your trusted professionals, and they're vetted, by the way. Every single person is vetted. And that's everyone's mission. Every single person I've met on any of our collective calls, they all have the same wonderful mission, just to be of service. And if we could all just remember, we're here just to be of service however we can to anybody, but it all starts with ourselves, right? So you started to talk about rituals that you do to protect your energy. And so, do you have any other spiritual practices?
I mean, like what?
I don't know. Like, do you meditate?
Well, I do yoga once or twice a week. I don't know if that counts.
Yeah,
I
anything
pretty
counts.
much do some form of activity every day, and I do it obviously, I wanna look better and be healthy physically, but I do it a lot for the emotional release. Like, this morning, I knew I was gonna be in meetings all day, so I'm like, "I gotta do something." So I went to the track up in my community place. They have an indoor track, and I walked. Yeah, so I went and walked on the track for like 35, 40 minutes because then I could be like, okay, now I can sit for a few hours and I won't feel so restless or whatever. And when I'm walking, I try to listen to music, podcasts, depends what podcast. So you could do meditation, or like I'll see people up there and I'll just talk to them and we start walking together. That's always really nice. I think being social is really, really important. And one tip I want to tell, not just women getting divorced, but all women, sometimes we feel isolated and lonely. If you go to your community track or your gym and you talk to people for a few minutes, if you run into someone you know and you talk, or someone you don't, and you talk for a few minutes, you've been social. And so you have actually had interactions and you're healthier for it. And you're going to feel so much better and not so alone because you just feel kind of connected to the community and connected to other people instead of just feeling so isolated and
Yeah,
alone. And
that's a
that's a
great
big
tip.
problem with young people. They don't do that. You know, they're on their phones texting and they sit home and they would never just walk up to somebody on the track and start talking to them. They just
Mm.
wouldn't. It's all older people.
Yeah. Well, also the confidence too, despite the phones. You were saying when you were younger, you wish you had the confidence you have now. And people wouldn't believe it now because I talk, I sing, I'm not shy. I was afraid to full on sing out loud. I was in a choir and I like to assimilate, but when I would try out for like the lead in the school play, I didn't have the confidence to go after it. I would now, but I didn't then. So part of it is yes, they're on their phones, and part of it is I think it just takes a lot of balls sometimes to talk to strangers. And also now there's stranger danger. But when you're on a track at the gym, hopefully, you're in a safe
And
place.
these are all older people.
Yeah.
I mean, and
Yeah.
they're so happy to talk. And that's another thing. You feel like you're almost giving back, like you're making their day and making them feel important. And then first thing you know, like 20 minutes has gone by and you've really made a difference in the world in a really small way. You made somebody's day better.
I just have to say, just watching you talk and listening to the tone of your voice, you really do that just everywhere you show up. And I hope that you give yourself credit because you ooze collaboration, connectivity. You really do leave people feeling better after
Thanks.
you
Okay,
know,
can I just tell you something, Laurie? This is
yeah,
crazy. I was going to make a video and I'll tell you what I was going to say. And I'm going to say it on your show and I'm still going to make the video. So if
please
you see
do.
it twice, hey, right now I am watching the show The Big C. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's with Laura Linney, and it's about this woman who has cancer, stage 4, and she's dying. But I don't want anybody to say, like, oh my gosh, what a terrible show. Why would you watch that? Because it is really funny. It's sweet. It's a really good show, and it won tons of Emmys. So right now I'm watching The Big C, and it's gotten me to think a lot about death, and which really isn't that healthy. But, I'm thinking about death a little bit. But what I want to say to people who are going through a divorce is people always say, like, I don't know who I am anymore. I don't even know what I want. I don't even know how to have fun. I don't even know myself. And what I would say is, what do you want people to say about you when you are gone? What do you want them to say? And I thought of that for myself. What I want people to say about me is, boy, she was a really thoughtful person who really cared about other people and went out of her way to make people feel important and good about themselves. And if you know that, just do it then. It's really simple.
Yeah, you just answered a question I was literally going to ask you, which is If people could describe your superpower, what would it be? And you just answered it. But if you'd like to elaborate on what you think your superpower is, I like to ask my guests that from time to time.
I think that you can say a lot about me, but I have a huge heart. I have love written on my sleeve. I'm really try to be honest and authentic. And I also get upset when people don't do that to me because I expect it of them because I'm that way. And that's a fault. That's something I have to work on. But I just believe in giving of myself and being as thoughtful as possible and really trying to make people feel good and feel important in this world. That's what I enjoy doing.
Okay. And now it's time for Joy on the Fives. So, Jackie, being in media, you'll appreciate I have a break in my show about 5 minutes to the hour because I want to imagine a world where when we hear the news, weather, and traffic at 5 minutes to the hour, that they also include joy. Imagine that world. So, in this moment, besides this conversation, what is bringing you joy?
Well, I'm looking at them. So let's start with the dog. I swear I was never a dog person. I don't know what made me get a dog 9 years ago. We got a dog, and I am telling you, anybody who's listening to this, if you think like, oh, it's a pain, I'm going to have to go out and train them, it is so worth it. It's not even funny. My dog brings me so much joy, has made me a better person. I can't even tell you how much. So that's one thing. Do you want more?
You can go on as long as you want to. So, you're
Right.
the first guest I've had who's talked about their pet. I love that you said that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
So,
a
anything else?
sweetheart. And by the way, it's not that hard to train a dog. It really isn't. It's a few weeks. They catch on really quick, at least he did.
Yeah. The
And
harder
you
part
got to
is
clean
training
up a couple
yourself.
poops in your house, and that's about it.
Yeah. It's the
You know.
people that need training more than the dogs.
Yeah. Well, he's taught me to be really patient and slow down and just great. I would highly recommend
Yeah.
if you're getting divorced, get a dog. It will help you so much.
Oh, I love that. But you mentioned there's other pieces of joy you'd
Oh,
like to promote.
gosh, we could do a whole other hour on food. I
Yeah.
want to tell people listening, enjoy food. Like, don't worry about it. I'm not saying eat burgers and fries and ice cream every night, but I'm saying, like, why do women especially feel so guilty about eating things? Food is meant to be enjoyed. I don't know if you've ever watched the Great British Baking Show.
Yeah.
I mean, what a great show.
It's like
Play
the
that at
Hallmark
my
channel.
yeah, oh, and they play that at my nail salon, and so, like, when you go in there, you have to watch it, and it's like meditating because it's
Yeah,
happy and it's beautiful cakes and things like that. But I would just say to people, stop with the shame and the guilt and just enjoy yourself and enjoy chocolate, especially this time of year, and just give yourself a break.
I love that. I love that. All right. I'm going to segue out of this and back into some things I also like to ask. If you could come up with what were or is or was your biggest challenge so far in your business?
I mean, I don't know if I can pick one. There's been lots of them, but I would say fear of technology was a big one. Like, I could be a web designer now. Like, I can go into the back end of WordPress and do all this stuff, but it's taken me a long time to learn. But I used to edit my own podcasts until like 2 years ago. So I can do all that stuff. I had to teach myself. And it's actually really empowering when you don't have to depend on other people, or if like they do it wrong and you can just fix it yourself or just tell them. Like, I don't know, technology is a big thing, especially because Divorce Girl Smiling's a media company. So there's lots of technology. But I got this now.
Hmm. Right. So the next question was, what's your biggest success? And besides teaching yourself technology, can you think of, in this business so far, what is your biggest success?
It's a no brainer. I would say almost every day of my job. Somebody either Facebook messages me, texts me, emails me, or writes like a review or something and says how much I've helped them, how much Divorce Girl Smiling has helped. That is like, it's like, that's like crack. It keeps you going and makes you just want to keep doing it. And it means the world to me when people reach out like that.
Yeah. When you started your business, did you have any idea how big it would get?
No,
Yeah.
no.
Has it been manageable as it's grown, or has it grown sometimes a little faster than you were prepared to nurture it?
I would say both, but the key is I would tell any business owner, don't be afraid to hire other people to help you with like the menial tasks. You have to give up control. And that was really hard for me. I didn't want anyone editing my podcast. And then someone was like, you know what? You've lost your mind. You think you're going to edit 3 podcasts a week? That takes like an hour each, an hour and a half,
Or
maybe.
more?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
to edit. And I go, but no one can do as good a job as me. Well, guess what? The guy doing it is fantastic. And he's doing an even better job. Everyone I've hired is better than me.
I started off the podcast with a producer and have been offloading some episodes and doing it on my own. And I can tell you, it takes at least an hour or two, depending on the length of it and how many things I need to edit out. The software edits out certain things, but then it might take out too much. You still have to listen to the entire episode, no matter if you're the producer or you're producing it yourself. So it is time consuming. But I found learning the technology brings me a lot of joy and empowerment, just like you said, because I like to learn how to do stuff like that on my own.
Okay, but Laurie, here's my tip. It doesn't have to be perfect. People don't care if I say, oh, can I say that again? Sorry, I didn't mean to say it that way. Let me start over. We're just trying to get our word out, and people really like authenticity. They like the mistakes. It
Yeah.
feels so much more real. We're not like a major TV station, we're just being us. And I really think that if someone said, why was Divorce Girl Smiling successful? Because I put it out there. It's really me. I don't sugarcoat. It's me and my flaws and my good parts and bad parts. It's all of it.
Mhm. And that's what you brought to the stage that night when I first met you. It's like, this woman is authentic. She's doing this because it's who she is versus what she's trying to do. And you really do have that mission to help others. And that's why people flock to you for what you're doing and growing and amassing. That's wonderful. So thank you. Is there anything coming down the pike you'd like to tell us about? Or
Um,
any sort of speaking events you've got coming up?
well, should I talk about Divorce-a-Palooza?
Sure. Oh, actually, yes.
Yeah. So that's coming up immediately. So starting January 1st, I will be doing Instagram lives every day at 12:30 for 15 minutes with each of my trusted professionals. So you are going to get to hear and get free advice from lawyers, financial advisors, custom designed wellness experts, and more. And I think that it's really going to take off because I think that people are going to be excited by it's not too long. It's not like, a podcast is long. It's a commitment. This is like your way to get like really good tips about divorce and more than divorce. And I'm really, really excited. The experts who are going to be on it are amazing and they all have such good advice to give and such inspirational messages.
And it's 12 Central Time?
12:30 full
30.
time.
So it's like a lunchtime reset too.
Yeah. And they'll
Yeah,
all be recorded and they'll all be on my Instagram channel. So you can watch 3 of them at one time if you weren't around.
that's great. And there's like over 80 of us, so it's like 80 days in a row or more.
Yeah.
I love that. All right. So please tell everybody how to find you.
Divorcedgirlsmiling.com. That's it. You can find everything there.
All right. And is there anything else you'd like to elevate, illuminate, explain, communicate?
I want to say thanks to Laurie. Thank you for everything you do. And I want everybody to know that before this podcast, recording, I said, "Laurie, I think I need to hire you and we need to talk about my stress, relieving some of my stress." So, just
Yes.
so you know, Laurie and I will be working together and then I'll have a lot more to say on that.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so much for carving out this time. I know in your very, very busy day. I really do appreciate everything you're doing, not just because I'm blessed to be able to work with you now, but I know you're providing such a good service to so many people who need it. So thank you so much, Jackie.
My pleasure. It was really fun being here.